What happens when one email changes the conversation? This week, a respected voice in podcasting reaches out to correct something I said. She was right, but what began as a simple correction quickly became a much bigger conversation about who really gets to shape the future of podcasting. We also talk about something many creators don't like to admit: why podcast communities go quiet, why even the best ones sometimes disappear, and what community builders owe the people who invest their time and trust. Plus, a tribute to someone who's proving that building people may be the most important work in podcasting today. And we'll also answer a question almost every podcaster eventually asks: how do you know it's time to update your podcast trailer? Welcome to Into the Podverse. I'm Tony Doe, and every week we connect the dots across the global podcast industry, tracking the stories, innovations, and opportunities that help creators make smarter decisions. This is where podcasting meets perspective. Let's get into it. One of the things I appreciate about this show is that some of the smartest people in podcasting actually listen. And they're not afraid to challenge me when they think I've missed something. Now, podcast strategist and industry commentator, and I dare say my adopted big sis in the Podverse, Stephanie Fuccio, reached out with a gentle correction. She pointed out that while I grouped Spotify alongside companies like Apple, SiriusXM, Libsyn, and Oxford Road as part of the North American conversation shaping podcasting, Spotify is actually a Swedish company. Of course, this was, from the previous episode. Steph, thank you. You're absolutely right on the geography. Now, my point was really about where much of the industry's commercial influence seems to be concentrated. Whether it's measurement standards, advertising priorities, or platform strategy, many of those conversations still tend to revolve around North American market realities, even when the companies themselves have global roots. But Steph's reply actually made the point even stronger for me. You see, she said she was surprised by how few major podcast companies Europe has compared to North America. And while that has improved over the last 6 years, progress has been slow. That's an important perspective because this isn't just the North America versus Africa discussion, it's actually a global one. Europe wants a bigger voice. Africa wants a bigger voice. Latin America wants a bigger voice. Large parts of Asia want a bigger voice. Everyone benefits when more regions help shape the future of podcasting instead of simply adapting to standards developed elsewhere. That's really the heart of what I was trying to say. So thank you, Steph, not just for catching an oversight, but for reminding all of us why thoughtful feedback matters. One of the healthiest signs of a growing industry is that we can disagree, clarify, and refine our thinking and keep moving the conversation forward together. And thank you for always offering your feedback with generosity and respect. That kind of support is invaluable, and I do not take it for granted, big sis. If there's one thing I hope Into the Podverse becomes, it's not just a place where I share ideas. It's a place where the conversation continues long after the episode ends. There's a saying in broadcasting: dead air is really a good sign. The same is true of podcast communities. In 2021, I joined the Pod People Circle after what felt like a rigorous application process. This wasn't a Facebook group anyone could stumble into. You applied, you were reviewed, and if accepted, became part of a carefully curated global community of podcasters. Naturally, my expectations were high, and for a while the circle delivered. Conversations were lively, advice flowed freely, opportunities were shared. Most importantly, some people understood the unique joys and frustrations of podcasting. Then, slowly, something changed. The discussions became less frequent, weekly emails stopped, notifications dried up, familiar voices disappeared. The community faded into silence. So I wrote to Pod People. I wanted answers. More importantly, I believed members deserved transparency. To their credit, they replied. Sammy Reed, Senior Marketing Operations Manager at Pod People, acknowledged my concerns and explained what I hadn't seen. The company had announced the closure more than a month earlier through the Circle's announcement channel, which should have emailed every member. That notification apparently never reached me. More importantly, she explained why they made the decision. They simply no longer had the capacity to run the community to the standard members deserved. So rather than letting it continue to decline, they chose to close it. Now, this reminds me of why so many podcast communities begin with excitement, but eventually lose momentum. Communities don't run themselves. Someone has to welcome new members, moderate discussions, answer questions, organize events, keep conversations alive when everyone else gets busy. Now, that's before they've produced a single episode of their own. Most podcast communities are started by creators already wearing too many hats: host, producer, editor, marketer, salesperson, bookkeeper. Add community manager to that list, and burnout becomes almost inevitable. Ironically, growth often makes the problem worse. More members mean more moderation, more questions, more expectations, more conflict, more spam, and more support requests. Growth sounds glamorous until you're replying to hundreds of notifications while trying to finish tomorrow's episode. The community becomes another full-time job, usually without generating enough revenue to hire help. We've become accustomed to free online communities: Slack, Discord, Facebook groups, Circle, WhatsApp. But free only applies to members. Someone is always paying. Usually with their time, sometimes with their money, always with their energy. But people admitted they no longer had the capacity to care for it in the way members deserved. That deserves respect in my books. Every creator eventually reaches a crossroads. Do you keep adding new projects, or do you protect the quality of the ones you've already built? Sometimes shutting something down is the more responsible decision, and that's because you refuse to let standards quietly erode. There is one lesson every community builder should remember though: never disappear without saying goodbye. People invest far more than money in communities. They invest trust, time, friendships, ideas. Sometimes even careers begin because of the people they meet there. When a community ends, members deserve to know why. They deserve closure, and they deserve to hear it directly. After my email, Sammy promised to follow up with former members to ensure everyone received the information and resources before the platform disappeared. And that's good leadership. Even if, for some of us, it arrived a little later than it should have. Every thriving creative industry has people who build the bridges others cross. In podcasting, we often celebrate the biggest shows, the highest download numbers, or the latest technology. But behind every growing ecosystem are individuals who choose to invest in people rather than headlines. Remy Roy is one of those people. Through Podground, she's championing an idea that podcasting doesn't have to be a lonely pursuit. Independent creators don't just need microphones and editing software. They need encouragement. They need community. They need spaces where questions are welcomed, failures become lessons, and success is something worth sharing. Now that matters because podcasting can be hard. It really can be hard. Some episodes take hours to research, record, edit, and publish. There are weeks when the numbers barely move. There are moments when creators wonder if anyone is listening at all. Communities like Podground remind us that the journey isn't meant to be walked alone. By creating opportunities for learning, collaboration, and even financial support through initiatives like Creator Grants, Remy Roy is helping podcasters think beyond simply launching a show. She's helping them build something that lasts. The podcast industry grows stronger when more people choose to open doors instead of guarding them. When knowledge is shared freely, when experienced creators reach back and lift those just starting out. That's how healthy creative ecosystems are built. So today, here's a salute to Remy Roy. Not just for founding Podground, but for believing that the future of podcasting depends as much on community as it does on content. May more people choose to build, to mentor, and to create spaces where independent voices can flourish. Because when one podcaster succeeds, the entire medium moves forward. Okay, here's a question that came in during the week. Hi Tony, I've been podcasting for about a year. My trailer is still the one I recorded before I launched. Should I leave it alone or record a new one? Your trailer is often the first thing a new listener hears. It's your elevator pitch, and if your show has evolved, your trailer should evolve with it. So when should you update it? First, when your show has found its identity. Maybe you started out talking about travel in general, but today you're known for travel intelligence. We've just changed the trailer for e.g. the world of travel. Now your trailer should reflect what your show is now, not what you hoped it would be. Now second, when your production quality has improved, is also a good time to upgrade your trailer. If your latest episodes sound polished, but your trailer sounds like it was recorded in your bedroom with a 5,000 naira microphone, you're underselling your work. Third, when you've built credibility. If you've interviewed notable guests, reached new audiences, won awards, or grown a loyal community, let your trailer tell the story. And finally, whenever your brand changes, new artwork, a new format, a different publishing schedule, or even a shift in who you're speaking to. All these are good reasons to refresh your trailer. Here's a simple test. Ask yourself 3 questions. If someone only listened to my trailer, would they understand what my podcast is today? Does it sound as good as my latest episode? Would I still write it this way if I were starting today? If the answer to any of those is no, it's time for a new trailer. Remember, your trailer isn't a museum piece, it's a marketing tool. Keep it current and it will keep working for you. Before we go, here's one thought I'd like to leave with you. The future of podcasting won't be shaped by algorithms alone. It will be shaped by people. People willing to question ideas, share knowledge, build communities, and create opportunities for others. That's what this episode was really about. If you have a question about podcasting, audience growth, production, monetization, or the business behind the microphone, send it my way. It might feature in a future edition of the show. If you found today's conversation valuable, then follow Into the Podverse on your favorite podcast app. Leave a rating or review and share this episode with another creator. Every recommendation helps more podcasters discover the show. Until next time, keep building, keep experimenting, and remember, every great podcast starts with a conversation, but the best ones keep it going. Thanks for listening. Thanks for spending time with me on Into the Podverse. If today's episode helped you stay ahead of the industry, share it with a fellow podcaster and leave a rating wherever you listen. For more podcast news and insights, subscribe to the Into the Podverse newsletter. Until next time, I'm Tony Doe, and I'll see you somewhere in the Podverse.